So the new NAR changes are gonna have a huge impact on how real estate transactions are done nationwide. And this is gonna affect residential and commercial, as well as industrial and all types of real estate transactions. But today we're gonna just focus on how it's affecting residential real estate purchasers and sellers. So one of the main changes that are coming to the marketplace with this new development is that buyers are now going to be responsible for paying the commission fee of their agents. In the past, it was a tradition or a common business practice wherein the sellers were assuming the financial responsibility of paying for the buyer's agent's fees. And of course, the fees can range anywhere between 2% and 3%. And so for every $100,000 in the purchase price, that would be a fee of between $2,000 and $3,000, right? So it definitely adds up pretty quickly when you're looking at the millions of dollars on a purchase or even a few hundreds of thousands. To be clear, sellers still have the opportunity to pay the commission of the buyer's agent. However, they can no longer advertise that on the MLS or the multiple listing service. What is the multiple listing service? The multiple listing service is a service wherein all of real estate agents, both sellers and buyers sides, have access to a database that includes all of the different publicly listed homes for sale. And so in the past, the commission that was offered to be paid to the buyer's agent was listed there publicly, and websites like Zillow, Trulia, and Redfin would pull that data with the photos, property details, and the commission fee or the buyer's agent fee, and they would pull it from the MLS and they would market it. That's no longer allowed. Now, because of this lawsuit that happened, NAR is saying that the sellers are not necessarily assumed or automatically responsible for paying that fee, and it can't be advertised on the MLS. So how will this affect both buyers and sellers? So to start with the seller side, it will make it increasingly more difficult to market their listing if you're selling your home to a buyer. Why is that? Because the buyer's agent doesn't really know how much you'll be paying them for the commission, or if you're even paying them at all. So now every time you list your property, instead of it being listed on the MLS how much you're willing to compensate the buyer's agent, each agent has to call and verify privately off the MLS and negotiate what the commission will be. So that's the first layer and how it's gonna make it a little more difficult. The second layer is, some people may think that this is a benefit for sellers because the sellers are in a position where they may be able to save money by not paying the buyer's agent. But this could turn around and bite the seller in the butt, because this would create a smaller buyer pool. It would attract a smaller buyer pool. Whereas if you would take the position to offer commissions for buyer's agents, now you're gonna attract more buyers. It's gonna attract the first-time homeowners. It's gonna attract people who just don't wanna pay 2% on a purchase, even though they may have the money. And so it will make your listing more competitive, and it may even drive up the final sales price because it does create greater demand. So that's how it's affecting the seller side. But how will it affect the buyers? This is really serious and impactful stuff. So with the buyers, it's really gonna affect those that are non-traditional the most. They're gonna get hit the hardest. So minority groups, first-time home buyers, people that may have English as a second language, etc. The hurdle now to purchase a home and become a homeowner has risen. It's become higher. It's become more difficult because now not only do you have the closing costs, not only do you have the down payment, but now NAR, the National Association of Realtors, is saying that you have to pay your buyer's agent fee. So that's gonna be something that a buyer needs to keep in mind, a first-time home buyer or any home buyer. It doesn't have to be a first-timer. Now, even if it's your third time, your sixth time buying a home, you may be responsible for paying that fee. And when I say you may, what do I mean by that? The fee has shifted again. The financial responsibility of paying the fee, because of this new NAR ruling, it has shifted to the buyer side. However, the buyer may be able to avoid paying it depending on whether or not the seller has agreed to pay the commission. So buyers, again, budget that extra 2 to 3% of the purchase price because that'll impact you. However, keep in mind that a lot of sellers, I've been in communication with sellers, listing agents, a lot of them are advising their sellers that it's beneficial to both parties to still offer money for the buyer's agent. So it is a possibility that you don't have to pay, but you have to keep in mind that I need to budget for this now, right? The other thing that was placed in the ruling for buyers that will affect buyers, both buyers and buyers agents, is that before showings can be done, before home tours can be even done, a buyer's representation agreement has to be signed and buyer's agent's compensation agreement needs to be signed. So what does that mean? The first one means that a buyer can't go and see homes according to the new NAR ruling. It would be non-compliant if they went to go see the homes without signing a buyer's representation agreement. They can't do the home tours until a agent and a buyer has agreed to work together and they've put the terms under contract and into an agreement that they both signed. So a buyer's representation agreement just means, hey, I've agreed to work with you, to rock with you, to allow you to serve me because I like your aptitude, I like your competence, I like your personality, I like your swag, whatever it is. You're successful, you're closing a lot of deals, helping a lot of clients. I want to work with you. I saw you on social media. I saw you on YouTube, Mark, wherever it is, right? And it's going to be a defined time period. And it'll say, you know, the location, and it'll just detail everything. The other aspect is the compensation structure. So in that agreement, it's gonna say how much the buyer's agent is gonna be charging. And this is negotiable. So it could be 2%, it could be 3%, 2.5%, 2.25%, or it could be 1% or 0%. Nobody should be working for 0%. And the common thing here in LA is at least 2%. And in that compensation structure for a buyer, you want to make sure that it says that if a third party, i.e. the seller, pays that buyer's commission fee or the realtor's fee, then you're no longer responsible for that 2%. If the sellers actually decide to pay the realtor on the buyer side 1.5% and you guys agreed to 2%, now you're only responsible for that 0.5% that's left over. So it's something that you really want to understand before you agree to. And the last thing is that from buyer's agent side, as a realtor, you want to just keep this in mind. Always educate your clients on both sides, both sellers and buyers. The other thing is that you really want to provide value, right? So the more valuable you are, the more service you provide, the more you can demand the agreement be signed, because you don't want to be out of compliance. Make sure you have your client sign the agreement before you actually go and tour homes and things like that. And then the other thing is that because you're so good at what you do, you can't be denied, right? So you can charge the 2%. You can charge 2.5%. You can charge 3%, whatever you decide to charge. If you're good enough, people will pay it. So in summary, the NAR changes, the National Association of Realtors changes, are coming to you August 17th. By August 17th, if you're going to tour homes, you have to have a buyer representation agreement before a realtor can even show you a home. And you have to have a compensation structure agreement signed. This way you'll know how much you have to pay if you have to pay. And you want to make sure that you budget out that 2 to 3%. And this is in addition to the 2 to 4% for closing costs, in addition to your down payment. And for the MLS, again, it's not going to be listed on the MLS. We'll have to actually negotiate off the MLS or one-on-one by calling the actual listing agent. So I hope you guys gain value from this video where I was delineating, explaining the new NAR changes, how it's gonna affect everyone, and how it's coming to a city, town, a realtor near you by August 17th. So make sure you're ready. If you like this video, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Bless up.